Hi, and welcome to the To Be Read podcast, where we give honest reviews on viral books that you might see on social media and popular book review websites. This is Chris.
And Carison. And on this episode, we're going to be going over what inspired us to start this podcast. So cozy on in and welcome to the pilot episode of To Be Read. Well, everyone, welcome. We're so excited to finally be starting this podcast. So we wanted to start this podcast because my sister, Chris, asked me one day in, I think it was December, if I had read this book. And I had read it. And she, within like the first, I think, 4 minutes of the book, she was already not liking it.
Less than 10 pages. Yeah.
And it was a book that she saw a lot on BookTok over on the lovely TikTok app. And we got to discussing how disappointing some of those books on BookTok are.
They don't live up to par, that's for sure.
No. Along with some books that are on some popular good review websites like Goodreads. I don't know if you looked at the 2023 books and review on Goodreads, Chris, when they did like their top 10 of each different genre. Some of those I was really disappointed in.
I would agree. I think a lot of those get to be swayed by what's currently viral, what everybody else is really enjoying. And I mean, honestly, some people only read what is all over their social medias and suggested reads page a lot because you scroll like in every 2 or 3 videos you get an ad, but it's ads for apps where people like write chapters and then can continue to like, so then you can like read like the first 1 or 2 chapters or whatever for free, and then you have to like spend money to continue reading chapters, and like 90% of them are about werewolf packs and fated mates. Okay.
See, mine that are suggested that way are about like men hiring women to like give them a baby and then they fall in love with each other. I'm just like, whoa, okay.
Oh, that's so interesting that it like
It's like a
caters to the
mafia.
different. Ah, weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a
I've gotten a
mafia billionaire type
I've
recommendations.
gotten like a couple of those, but a lot of mine are like Lich King and like werewolf packs, and it's probably because I'm more on like the romantasy fantasy side of book talk. But like, yeah, I'm just like, I gotta stop like even just like giving these 2 seconds of my time because I gotta get these off of my For You page.
So, a little background on our reading journeys. Um, I loved reading as a kid. And then when I got into the grades where, like, you have to read this book, and we're going to do essays on this book and discussions every class on this book, I started hating reading because I hated being forced to read books I didn't like. And then I had my son, and my husband was like, you need a new hobby because I stay at home, and I just needed something to do with my life to unwind. So I started reading, and I didn't even know what Wattpad was.
Wattpad.
Oh. And I came across my first For You page suggestion of a book on there. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I was reading it and I was like, this seems like some middle schooler wrote this book. And then I was talking to my sister-in-law about it, and she's like, oh, please don't. Just get off of that. I'll give you book suggestions, like, if you want to get into reading again. But what is your reading background?
So I actually hated reading at first. I struggled really hard with comprehension and things like that. I had to do like extra little classes in elementary school, and I learned actually in just recently that the reason why I struggled was because um, of like the way that I read is, and the reason I'm a slower reader opposed to like you who like reads zooms through books. I'm a slower reader because like I like watch the movies while I'm reading kind of thing. Not like literally, but like I create a movie in my head. And sometimes I get so involved in portraying a movie and trying to figure out like what things are supposed to look like that when something happens in the book that makes me question the flow, it like shuts down the scene and we have to like rebuild. Um, and I also get distracted really easily, so then I have to like reread the sentence like two or three times or the whole page even. And
Mm.
so um I when I got back into reading, which was like around high school, is when I found fantasy books other than Lord of the Rings and started really kind of falling in love with that. And I hate to admit it, but my gateway book was Twilight.
I think that was all of ours in the fantasy realm, and if it's not, you are just in denial.
Yeah,
That
I would.
was I guess if you were art okay, I take that back. Maybe if you're the older generation, it wouldn't be Twilight. But and Chris is you're a millennial, right?
Yeah,
Okay, and I'm just like I don't know what I am. Because some websites, I'm born in 97. Some websites say 97 is millennial, and some websites say 97
yeah.
is Gen X or
You're
Gen Z,
too
whatever Gen
young to
Z
be a
is.
millennial, too old to be a Gen Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, our two generations, Twilight was definitely like
Yeah, it was like Twilight and oh God,
the
what
Hunger
was
Games.
yes, I was like, what was that? The Hunger Games, and then like right after that, I think Divergent became really
Yeah.
popular. So it was like all that like right there together just was like our high school years or whatever. But like those
Yeah.
are kind of the books that got me into the fantasy realm. And I quickly learned because then I started playing D&D that that's the type of fantasy that I really enjoy. So like Fourth Wing was really my cup of tea. Uh, but that's because I really like that like dragon and fighting and like war type feel to a book, but it also had a little bit
Yeah.
of romance in it, which is why like chef's kiss. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's I didn't really fall in love with reading until after even college. And that's because that's
Hmm.
when I found Audible and was able to do audiobooks. So I didn't have to like reread pages and whatnot. I still do love, I prefer a physical book in my hand, but I will often listen to the audiobook as I'm reading so that I can get like the full thing going for me.
Yeah. I definitely could not. I'm not an audible person. I'm a visual learner, so I have to like
I will
read the
tell
book.
you that I will take twice as long to read a book if I hate the narrator though. So
Okay.
I don't hate it. I still prefer reading it, just reading it, but it just takes me longer. So,
Yeah.
which like I've become one of these people.
Oh no. If you can't see, but she's annotating the book with sticky notes.
Yeah, so I've got like a whole color system where like my oranges are like meh moments. My greens are like, ooh, I like this. And then my reds are like, no, this is crap. And then the blues in this is like um, things that like happened, like that were part of the story that I was just like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to circle back to this.
I'm interested to see what some of those mean.
Yeah,
Like when we discuss it in our next episode.
yeah, for sure. So before we started using the Fable app, um, I was annotating like a lot of different things because I didn't want to like forget the things I wanted to talk
Hmm.
about. I haven't been doing it as much since we started using the Fable app.
Mm-hmm.
which for those of you who haven't like looked into that, you can start a book club and then read with other people and make comments on different chapters so that you can talk about the book, but if you haven't gotten to that part and other people are there, there's no spoilers. So then you can jump into the conversation once you get there.
Yeah. I'm a Kindle reader. I do have physical copies of some books. What I do is I go on Kindle Unlimited and I read the book, and hopefully it's free with my Kindle subscription. And if I like it, then I buy the physical copy of it because I want to have that book. So when I'm reading it on Kindle, you can highlight things and put notes and stuff on there, but it's a little more difficult to, like, on your phone, if you're reading it, you can make each thing a different color. But on the actual Kindle, you can't change the color.
Yeah.
Because I have the paper. I don't know. I have the paperwhite version, so I don't know how in other Kindle versions if you can change the colors.
Yeah,
But
when
on
I'm
at least,
like using Kindle on my iPad, I can change the
hmm,
colors.
yeah. But on my physical Kindle, I can't change the colors. So, like, annotating it that way is a little difficult. I'd have to, you can make notes, but
Kindle needs to make it to where like if you and I have the same book on Kindle that we can like connect our books so that then we can like make comments and just read and then as I'm reading I can see your comments or highlights.
oh yeah, they on. I know, like, if a highlight has, not a highlight, if certain passage in a book has a lot of highlights from it being read, it's like underlined when you're reading it. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It, like in the book we're reading on my Kindle and on my phone, like there's a line or whatever that I guess a lot of people have highlighted that it's like XYZ number amount of people have highlighted this in their like book or whatever. So then I kind of like, I feel bad if I don't highlight it because then I'm just like, why is everyone else liking this certain line? But
Yeah,
I don't.
that's so funny.
So then I feel obligated to have to like highlight it because everyone else did.
I just found out how to like you know how in the Fable app you've been like doing the like quotes. I was just like,
Yeah.
how is she doing this? So I literally spent like 10 minutes trying to figure it out. And
You
I
should have
figured,
asked me.
oh my God, didn't want to feel
Did you do the
stupid.
scanning?
Huh?
Did you do the scanning part? You can scan it so you don't have to type the whole quote out. I'll have to show you. You can scan the your book.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah. Like in the app.
Like I can, like, I have to scan the page?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Anyways, so let's go back to what you can expect with our podcast. So we're going to be doing, depending on if we finished the book or if we didn't, we might have one book on each podcast. We might have two. Just depends on how we're doing with it. But we're going to discuss what we liked about the book, if anything was shocking, and then, give it a rate, of course. You always have to give a rate of the book, along with some other things that we might add in there. And we'll let you know if we, in our opinion, think you should add it to your TBR shelf. And, you know, some might be a hit and some might not. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Just expect full honesty because that's what this podcast is about. So often I feel like uh, popular books just keep getting hyped up. And like sometimes I read them and I honestly hate them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, also the other way around. Sometimes books get a lot of hate, and then I read them, and I'm just like, it actually wasn't bad. Like, it did something for me. So,
Yeah.
obviously, there are opinions. They may not be yours, but maybe it'll help you out knowing that we're going to be honest.
Yeah. And we're not going to only just do like our favorite genres. Like, we're not just going to do fantasy and romance. We're also going to branch out and do fiction and probably some biographies.
Memoirs, yeah.
Yeah. So, if you have any suggestions for a book that you've seen recommended for you a lot, just leave us a comment or message us on our social media, and we'll definitely look into it, and maybe it will show up on one of our future episodes.
Yep. I was going to say that we plan on also letting everyone know if we personally would add it to our shelf.
Yes. Yeah. Do we want to get a little teaser of what our first book is?
I think so. That way, if anybody is actually listening to this first episode still, uh, they know what's to come.
Yeah. Do we want to give the title or just like a little like character name or what? Like what should we do for our teaser?
Uh, I don't know. You pick.
Okay, we'll do the title. We'll do the
Okay.
title
Okay.
for the
Okay.
first one. Okay, so the book that inspired this podcast is from a lovely series called I don't even know the name of the series. That's bad. Oh, it's called Twisted. The book series is Twisted. And the first book in this series is Twisted Love by Anna Wong. So, if you've read this book or if you've seen this book suggested, you're in for it for our first
Yes.
book podcast review.
And it's been an up and down ride for me so far. So don't let our initial comments in this current podcast persuade you whether or not to read it. Tune into the
Yeah.
next episode.
Yeah. And get our perspective. This is Chris's first time reading this book, and this was my second time reading this book. So we'll see if my opinions have changed from the first time or not. If you're still listening, we thank you. You're a rock star, and we'll hopefully see you next time, or you'll listen next time. Whatever the saying would be.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us on today's pilot episode. We hope you enjoyed learning about why we wanted to start this podcast. Join us next time as we discuss our first book, Twisted Love by Anna Wong.